who else don't I see? But let's just wait about 4 or 5 minutes and then we'll get going. You got a lot to, hi Sophia. There's your young farmer. You can teach her, Sean.
Awesome.
She's enjoyed this series.
Cool.
So, and so you've been at the farmer's market tonight.
Yep. Yeah, I'm over here in San Andreas and at the Master Gardener's Demonstration Garden, where we have a farmer's market every Thursday from 4 to 6. And yeah, it's been a good market. I sold out of peaches and figs, and yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's nice that the smoke has thinned a little bit.
Yes.
Although I just, when are we going to change?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough one. You want to tell us a little bit? You mentioned about that garden was dedicated to your dad. That's pretty wonderful.
Oh, well, there's a bench here that's dedicated to him, and we did a lot of work over here. There's so my dad was this is actually the 4th anniversary of my dad's passing, and so he was a hippie turned chief probation officer who was a real humanist, and I wish he could tell you all why, what more, because he was really good at just talking to everybody as a human and respecting everybody from murderers to the governor as humans, and treating them all as humans. And that's a legacy that he has left. It's a hard act to follow, and but there's pretty much everybody that knew Michael remembers that part of it, because he lived his life with the motto of be the change that you want to see in the world, and he really did that in every moment. I mean, I don't remember my parents ever fighting, not once. And my parents would have been married earlier this month for 45 years. And that was largely, my mom's not that easy to get along with. So that was largely because of my dad. And he was just a really, a guy who could, he never pushed his agenda on you, but you wanted to follow his agenda because he made it look so beautiful. And I think, so he could really talk to everybody, even people that he really disagreed with, and tell them, that they were really screwing up, and they still loved him at the end of the conversation. And I think that's something that we're sorely missing in our society right now.
No, it's a wonderful gift for you to get to grow up with that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
We have a lot of you quoting your dad or talking about your dad in this video. So I think we probably should, I'll just talk a little bit. Hi, Heartworks. Thank you for joining us. They're from Eugene. And we'll get some more people are coming on. But I'd like to introduce you all to Sean. You're going to have to say your last name for me, Sean, because I keep butchering it.
Krilitic. And actually, yeah, it means wings of a dove in Croatian. And I grew up in Paloma, which is, means dove in Spanish.
Okay.
And so that's why I called my my business Paloma Pollinators.
Okay. We visited Sean at his farm a couple of weeks ago, and my sister Karen joined me, as well as Justin, the video demon that we have helping us on all of these. And we spent, 3.5 hours with you, and it was amazing. This place is just, you created an Eden, and I hope you get from these videos. I mean, Justin was just saying, I just was so fascinated on what he said. I didn't take enough pictures of what was around us, but I think you'll get a good feeling, and then we'll just have Sean keep telling us about what you're achieving, what you have achieved, and I think you're still striving to achieve more. It's really fascinating. And so I think you're a perfect example of permaculture. And could you give us just a short description of how you see permaculture? Because that did not end up in the video.
So basically, permaculture is care of the earth, care of people, and redistribution of surplus. But in short, for me, it's about mimicking natural systems and gleaning the cream from those systems, whatever that cream might be. And but a big part of it has to do with it's not just farming and land. It's social, it's economic, it's all aspects of human life. Which, because I believe that we are part and parcel. We were made and born of, by, and for this place, as in this planet, and for those of us that are here right now, wherever we are right now, that's where we need to be and where we should be.
I can't figure out how to get my volume on.
And so permaculture to me is about all aspects of life on planet Earth, and stewarding that and recognizing that us humans are the brain of the system.
Okay, so I am going to share my screen, and we're going to get to see how Sean got where he is and what he's doing. So bear with me. Hope this works better than I did earlier today. Let's see. There we go. How to have a pollinator shot, Sean.
Nice.
I kind of did this in sections.
So my name's Sean Michael Krilatich, and we're here at Manzanita Ridge. This is the farm that I've built and own and operate here in Amador County. It's one of a few farms that we have as Krilatich family farms. And basically I got into agriculture with a home garden and raising animals for the Calaveras County Fair. And when I was 9 years old, the then farm advisor in Calaveras County gave me a beehive. So I learned a lot of skills. It was really hard work, and I really didn't appreciate all the things that I was learning at the time. But that's actually how I got the skills to do what I'm doing now, and also was able to see through these systems that to me were not the most efficient systems. Kind of I like mimicking nature. One, because kind of almost in part because I think it's the easiest way. Back here was that my parents are pretty much the coolest people that I've ever met.
Okay, you have that on tape. Your mama loves
And she knows that I think that, and that I know that. And and my dad was just straight up magic. Yeah, they called him Magic Mike around here. And one of his favorite sayings was "Be good humans," I think he was a really good human. Yeah, and then I came back here because I recognized that I don't have a lot of fear in me, and I'm basically a powerful person in myself, and that if I was going to use that for positive impact on the world around me, that the most impact that I could have would be basically in my home neighborhood. And especially because my parents had already made these big inroads here, and so I had power here. So they turn an amazing amount of green matter into manure, urine, and which are fertilizers on the one hand, that are soil feeders, feeding all the microbial life in the soil, and then on the other hand they produce this amazing milk, and like a lot of it, and so that allows me to take that milk and feed it to those chickens, feed it to the pigs that are at our farm in Paloma, and of course I also consume that milk and you know, make ice cream and all the other stuff that the milk can be. Actually, what I do is I pour the milk into a Slavic cream separator, and right after I milk it, and then the animals, the dogs, the chickens, the pigs, the ducks, everybody gets their little portion of skim milk.
Every day?
Yep.
You go around?
Yep.
And they like to see you come?
Yeah, they love it.
How much milk do you get from the cows?
Well, I'm getting about 7 gallons a day from one cow.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah, cows don't mess around.
Okay, and
yeah.
hence they're this.
Yeah.
So they're the center of the universe here, and without the cow, it's not as fun. We humans, it's good to know about figs. You want one?
Oh, thank you.
Is that they're a flower, not a fruit.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So, which is why they get to have multiple fleshes, right? So a peach tree puts on the flowers in the springtime, and then you got to wait, you know, months for it to turn into a fruit. And then, but the cool thing is you can pick it a little bit early before the birds totally destroy it, and it'll ripen. That's not true with the flower. Just like putting a flower in a vase, it immediately starts decaying. So it's the same with the figs. So you pick them ripe, and they will not get riper than that. They will not sweeten, and they basically just degrade. You just have to eat them really fast, and that's why either they're totally unavailable at the store, or or they're very expensive. Or why they're mostly dried product.
Right.
But these trees are like 6 years old. They're not really that old. I choose the ones that are like maybe a little more friendly, and a little bit and that don't have leg problems, that aren't mean to each, like roosters that aren't mean to the hens, that aren't mean to me, come here. You're okay.
And then will you put them elsewhere so you...
And then I move them all the time.
Okay.
So basically, if in the green part of the year, when I'm raising them then they get moved every day. And they're in a smaller enclosure, and they get moved every day. But this time of year, when there's really no regrowth, you're a good girl, then I move them about once a week. And right now they're in the raspberries again to fertilize the raspberries for the fall crop.
Okay.
And they're basically thinning out the raspberries a little bit for me. Then I'll have to go through and re-trellis them all.
Okay.
But
they're getting some of the work done.
they're getting a little bit of the work done, and they're doing, I won't, so this is the only, I don't use commercial fertilizers of any kind. I use basically self-applied animal manure. Rarely do I apply it myself.
You move them.
And that's true with the sheep, that's true with the cows, that's true with everybody. And then but what I do apply, because you can imagine on this ridge top, when I started here, pretty much everybody thought I was completely insane because there's just no soil here. It's really rocky, and I just put down wood chips, like lots of wood chips. Like every year I try to put down a minimum of 4 inches and a maximum of 14 inches and I found that more than that actually it is problematic.
Is it pine and oak?
All of it.
Whatever.
The mix is best. So straight conifers, like pine and cedar do not work well for the first few years, and they're good for like pathways. But to me, the pathway and the bed are all one. Right? Most bees, of the world's approximately 20,000 species of bees, and bees being an insect that only eats pollen and nectar,
Okay.
unlike a wasp, which also eats meat. Yeah, that's why I like your skin. But there's about 20,000 species of bees, and 80% of them are solitary.
Oh.
So almost all bees are solitary. That's why we chose the honeybee to, then we, you know, it works, right? But these bees are solitary, but most of them actually they're solitary, they're kind of like me, they're solitary, but they're semi-gregarious. So they like to be around other bees, but not all the time, but they don't directly cooperate with them. I do like cooperating with people, but
People get that for their yard? I've never
right.
seen that.
Yep. So it's like Mason bee hotels are kind of, you know, they sell them at Costco and Tractor Supply, and
Seriously. So it's just to draw bees to your yard?
You're
Right.
giving them niches.
Yep. So and because there's like this concentrated group of niches in wood, with different woods, then we have sweat bees, mason bees, miniature carpenter bees, and leafcutter bees, all will make their home in here.
At the same time.
Sometimes.
Okay. So please, anybody have questions so far for Sean? There's a lot of info in there. You can unmute yourself, or I can unmute everybody. I cannot, and you're gonna have to unmute yourselves. So anybody have? Come on, Cole. Does that look like Portugal?
Oh, you're muted. He's muted.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I like the thing about figs.
Yeah, I took something away from the figs. I didn't really have that full conception of why figs are so limited in the store, and that why when you get them home, they just
They don't ripen.
they don't ripen, or for us, I mean, well, they don't last long in the fridge anyways, but they'll just, I mean, disappear. They'll just fall in and cave upon themselves.
You have
It'd
a
be cool to-
favorite fruit to grow, Sean?
Well, I think
Delicious, by the way.
my favorite fruit is probably persimmons, and I like persimmons too because they I don't have to harvest them till it cools down. So I like that part. But the figs are amazing. You know, I harvested 90 pounds of figs this morning, and the other going off right now, and so that's kind of fun. But the figs, I'm mildly allergic to the latex, I think it is, that's all over the fig trees. So I have to kind of suit up for the fig harvest. And that's not my favorite thing. You know, you asked me, Ann, the other day when you came out about what my favorite thing is, and you know what I think it is actually is saying good morning to everybody in the morning.
Okay, very good. Yeah, because tell everybody what your morning journey, because you first go down to the cow, right?
Yep. Yeah, I first go to the cow, and I bring the cow up and milk the cow. Actually, right now, since you came, I'm milking 2 cows. So they know their place, kind of. They're figuring it out. That's and bring the cows, milk them. One of them actually I milk with a machine, and the other one I milk by hand right now. She doesn't like being milked by hand. I kind of prefer that, but it's actually cleaner with the machine too. And yeah, then I go and do that, and then prepping water. I'm prepping water to clean the milk machine. I'm prepping water to clean all the stuff with the milk. I'm prepping the cream separator by heating water and pouring that through it. Cream separator has about 45 parts that have to be washed and heated and put together in a very exacting manner. So I'm doing all that while during the cow milking kind of time. I carry that milk out to, then I pour it through the cream separator, and that takes about 10 minutes for, right now I'm producing about 10 gallons a day between the two cows. I pour that through the cream separator, and I get skim milk in 5-gallon buckets and the cream in half-gallon mason jars. And then I take those 5-gallon buckets and I walk them around the farm, and the cats get some, the ducks get some, the turkeys get some, the chickens get a lot. The chickens are pretty much eating exclusively milk right now. They don't even like their black soldier fly larvae right now. They're not interested in, that's another thing that I raise to feed the chickens. They're not that interested in that after their milk session. It also basically precludes them ever eating the eggs and the feeding of the milk, because it's pretty calcium rich. And I also don't have to then import, calcium supplement. I really don't like to import things, because I always got to wonder where that came from and what I'm doing when I import that to the farm. But then I walk where I go. Then I throw a tiny bit of alfalfa to the sheep. And I brought the sheep up closer because I have this really awesome bobcat just nailing some of the chickens, and it actually just straight up butchering them. They would bleed them out even, and the meat, I would just catch her in the act. I caught her in the act a few times, and she'd go up and rip their throat and then hold them down with a paw and let them bleed out. I mean, that's basically how I butcher them. And then start eating them after that. But if you ever have butchered an animal in an imperfect way, you get too much blood in the meat, and it's not very nice. So the bobcat has their preference too. But I moved the animals up closer so that the big dogs would be closer to the chickens, the sheep up closer, so the big dogs would be closer to the chickens, and that the poor bobcat's going to have to find his food somewhere else. But anyways, I feed the dogs some milk and give the sheep a little alfalfa, and then I go back in, and then I start harvesting. This time of year, I start harvesting fruit. And that's, I start working on that stuff, as soon as it gets light. Although it's getting nicer now it's getting a lot cooler, so I'm appreciating that.
But that's
How
what
do you generate this?
Sorry, that's what you meant by saying hello to everybody.
Yeah.
Taking them around.
So in that, I'm also saying, I'm saying good morning to the plants, to the animals, to the fungus, to the bacteria. I'm going around saying good morning, and good morning, buenos dias, bonjour, dobar dan. I mean, I am greeting everyone, and I find that greeting everyone, my routine is to get up and do about 30 to 45 minutes of stretching, what some people call yoga, and then I have some coffee from Murphy's Coffee Roaster that sells their coffee here at our Calaveras Grown Farmers Markets, and then I go and depending on when I woke up, if I woke up, what most people consider real early, then I do some computer work, and then as soon as it gets light, I go outside and I just like actually saying the words "good morning." is very powerful, and I think it develops a strong connection. And you know, I'm not always up myself in terms of you know, my state of mind, but just saying good morning, like by the third or fourth good morning, I'm like, yeah, good morning. Like, it's awesome.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Somebody else had a question? I interrupted.
Cole did,
Oh,
but he walked away.
okay.
There he is.
There he is. Cole, you had a question.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you generate the soldier fly larva for the chickens?
So I start with, I found that the easiest way to start it is with citrus rinds, or just straight up, like I use grapefruit. And since no one really likes to eat grapefruit, everybody's on heart medication. And it doesn't mix with grapefruit. They could probably, maybe we could just eat grapefruit instead of taking the heart medication. That's inside. But basically I use grapefruit because I can't sell the grapefruit very easily. And I found that making a big pile of citrus, the house flies and the horse flies don't really get into that. They don't really like that high acid kind of compost environment. So the first thing that colonizes it is the black soldier flies, which are the same thing that we often call mosquito hawks, right? And so they have a big larva, and then I do them in these tubs that I got from this guy. He was back east, but he has these cool tubs. PT Ranch uses them too, actually. We got them from out there, shipped out here, and the black soldier flies actually crawl up so then the citrus gets it going, and then after it gets going, I can just put anything I want in there. But the more compost that I put in there, the more compostable materials, the more organic matter that I put in there, the more black soldier fly larvae I get. And they actually are self-harvesting. So as they mature, they actually crawl up these ramps, these specially designed ramps. They're really simple, but these ramps out of the substrate, and then fall through a hole into a 5-gallon bucket. It works. Well.
They are thinking they're escaping from the.
Right. They think that they're going to go get to be, black soldier flies. And of course, some of them do. I try. I hope I don't capture them all, because the more that there are around, the more also are going to be laying their eggs in there and stuff. But only really takes a few, females to lay enough eggs to even make, a 5-gallon bucket a day worth.
Wow. And that's better feed for the chickens than other flies, or it's just that they're particularly easy to cultivate?
Well, it's not easier or necessarily better for the chickens, but I don't like house flies.
Okay.
And already, because I have cows, and even though I have the chickens around to get into the cow manure and break it up, and the ducks do that too, I still have a fly problem. And so of course it would be super easy to make a big pot of maggots, house fly maggots, and the chickens would love that just as well.
Okay.
But then you'd have a lot of house flies around.
Yeah. Go after your mosquitoes, which sounds like is that why they're called mosquito hawks? They will go after.
No, they got nothing to do with mosquitoes. But we just call them that because I don't know where that came from. I was reading about a few years ago when I researched it. I actually was something that I had been doing on a small scale, and then I researched it for PT Ranch when we got that system going down there, and I realized that those mosquito hawks have nothing to do with mosquitoes, but whatever.
Hey, Justin, how about you chime in here and talk about how you decided what of Sean's produce you were going to use in this week's pairing?
So I've been bugging Sean for a couple weeks, just trying to get, an availability list. And he got one to me, it seems like just in the nick of time, where I can both include those items on my menu, and I'd really like figs next week if you got that much of them. But he had told me his peaches he had a bunch of peaches, so we had chosen to kind of go with that preserve marmalade theme. And so peach seemed to be perfect for that. And then for the secondary flavor, just like last week, we went with lavender because PT Ranch grows their own lavender. I was kind of curious about what to throw into the peach marmalade. And Sean said he had several different varieties of peppers. And so I just asked him to choose a bucket full, a dozen or so peppers that were sweet, not spicy, that he would go well with peach marmalade. And so, Sean, what did you actually bring me? Do you remember? I think I saw some Nardellos, but there was other ones too.
Yeah, there was some Nardellos. There was some Turkish karbachis, which my Russian clients claim are Russian peppers. And there were some, those were the thin, long ones. Basically, they're a little thinner and longer than the Nardellos. There were some Aconcagua, which I think, those seeds I got from Argentina quite almost 20 years ago now. And then there were some bales that I also brought back from about this same latitude in South America, quite a long time ago that I've been cultivating since then. But they're actually pretty similar to like Cal Wonder bell pepper. They have a nice thick wall, and I think I feel like they do a little bit better with less nutrients than the Cal Wonders are heavier feeders. But, yeah.
I'm gonna ask Ryan how he likes that jam, since it's up front.
I love the jam.
It's delicious.
I'm on my third muffin, moving on to my fourth. I cannot stop eating. The other two didn't show, so we're eating their half as well. So I'm loving it. I'm living my best life over here.
Okay. Tell us about blue corn, John. That's what you made the muffins out of, right, Justin?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm sure he puts other stuff in there too, but the blue corn, I grow a different variety of corn every 3 years. So this year I'm growing a blue corn that I actually got the seeds from the Hopi Nation down along the Grand Canyon back in the early 2000s. And I grow that kind of all over the place, kind of a little bit intermixed with everything. And the farm is, it's hard to tell from those videos, but the farm is pretty steep. And so it's just a little bit of corn here and there and everywhere. But I end up growing, maybe 200 to 500 pounds a year of flour corn. And then I've just got a little mill, little tiny like home scale mill that I use to mill that into flour. And so I love that. I love that this blue corn this year. Next year I'll go a green dent corn, and the year after that I'll grow a red flour corn that's a Chilean flour corn that I picked up when I was cycling down there in 2013. But I don't like to mix them too much. I like to keep the strains as pure as possible. Mixing isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they all tell their own story.
I was really happy that the muffins, after you mix them with the flour, how much the blue color came through. When you advertise something as blue cornbread muffins, even though you're using blue corn. If they don't come out blue, they're not quite blue cornbread muffins. So I was really excited when I mixed the batter and I get this really beautiful, like indigo blue.
Very cool. Well, let's go back to the video and see some more of Manzanita Ridge and what Sean's doing there. Let me see. There we go.
You know, what are we going to do with all this small diameter and dead trees? What are we going to do with it all? And okay, so it needs to be shippable so we can sell it to the urban population, because that's the other thing I've like worked with. The urban-rural connection is so important. They got all the money, we got all the resources, and so it needs to be shippable. It needs to be replicable, so you can actually knock them out as assembly line style, and then it needs to be not junk. Like is something that's actually has value, and. So what we came up with was bee-inspired toys. This is our little mini bus. So that's a piece of cedar, a piece of canyon oak. The wheels are oak. The ash, yeah, and it's totally, it's designed to be like indestructible, thrown across the room and it won't break, because it's for play. A big project. But the thing about this canal is that it is a lifeblood of this region. So, as late as 1910, people in the east thought that the west would never be heavily populated because it's just too dry here, but these canals made it possible to have European-style life in this insanely dry environment, and that's still true today. And I believe, we at Calaveras Grown believe, the people using Mother Lode Gold believe, that water is life, and that water is the key to our thrival here in the foothills. It's called Mother Lode Gold, and it's starting as these wooden hexagonal tokens, and maybe we'll take a look over in the wood shop a little later. There's some actually being produced right now. Yeah, and so those are 11 units each is what we decided on, and we're actually exchanging them for US dollars. For $10 you can buy 11, and that's to incentivize the customer to want to buy into this. Okay. It's a crisis. We can all agree that we're in socioeconomic crisis, and therefore it's this amazing time to make big moves and to introduce things that just last year, just at the beginning of this year, would have been kind of anathema to the public mind. And so it became clear to just like after the Butte fire, when the Butte fire was still burning at Calaveras Grown, we got together. The board got together and said, what are we going to do? What's our role in this, in recovery of this? So obviously it's not our role to put the fire out, but what's our role in the recovery of this? And so we started what we called the Community and Forest Recovery Project, and we covered thousands of acres with rice straw. We did all kinds of contour tree falling. We ran volunteer crews twice a week for 7 months of up to 80 individuals in each day. There's anywhere from 10 to 80 people working with us. Chainsaws, make lunch if that's what you can do, and really and it was a huge community unifier, actually. And like crisis almost always is, or certainly can be. And so then when this thing came about, and when we got labeled a pandemic, and they basically closed all the small businesses, then it's like, okay, we're in crisis again, and what's Calaveras Grown's role in this? So we had already planned this mobile market, which is that you can purchase these products from our producers online, and then you pick them up at various locations. We have 6 or 7 different locations where you can pick them up now in Amador and Calaveras County, and so that was already something that we were looking into, because a lot of people just find it inconvenient to come out to the market, and so we'd been planned that with this amazing board member that we have, Odile Morrison, a couple of years ago, and so we were ready to implement that pretty much right now. So we did that first, and
sorry about that. That one stopped too early. Anyway, so Sean, I'd love to, I feel like in going through these videos, we barely touched on all the things you are doing for your community. And tell us something we missed. And maybe explain a little bit more about Calaveras Grown, because it's more than just a farmer's market. You're taking it on the road, so to speak. But it seems like it's more of a community as well.
Yeah, I think we have there's a pretty tight community of our growers and our vendors at the markets. We have small businesses involved, and we have just an amazing set of board members that we're kind of willing to do things on the fly, is to take a stab at these ideas that somebody in the group has, and support that person any way we can, support that idea any way we can. We don't have, none of us were the founding members, which is kind of perfect, because founder syndrome can be a big nightmare in small nonprofit organizations. And this group actually started back in 2001. And much like, it's like Farms of Amador, or Farms of Tuolumne, or Farms of El Dorado. These were all started by the University of California Cooperative Extension, helping out, trying to help out local small-scale farmers. Well, and really there was a push to basically vertically integrate these small-scale farms, which I think is not really that awesome, because we're not that good at doing everything ourselves. But what we've done at the Calaveras Grown is just instead of vertically integrating it at one farm, it's like Calaveras Grown is providing the support network for our producers, winemakers, a bit of culturalists, really across the board. We have producers doing it now. We have well over 100 members that are growing stuff, and we just our base mission is to protect and enhance the rural quality of life in the region. And we actually think that even our name is a little bit too small for what we're doing, because we really think that this is a region that includes, it certainly includes Amador and Tuolumne counties, and down into the valley even, and to think that we're going to produce everything that we need hyper locally is just full-blown insanity. So we need all this stuff. We need steel. We need a lot more than we've got now. But right now we got wood, and we've got food, and we've got wine, and we're doing pretty awesome. I mean, I haven't been since our markets opened over here I haven't been to the grocery store. There's absolutely no need for me to go to the grocery store, and I'm living high on the hog, so to speak. I mean, you asked about Portugal earlier. If you look you guys didn't get to look in my little walk-in, and I've got a bunch of legs hanging in there. Prosciutto, or jambon cru is the recipe actually. But yeah, so I just, my parents showed me that community is kind of the key to it all, and it's hard around here to find like-minded people. And I think one of the things that I've dealt with is having to dump like the age prejudice. Most of the people that I work with are much older than myself, and that was more true before. Now I'm not as young as I used to be. And but now we're actually bringing in younger people in Calaveras Grown, and that's good. More people getting excited about helping out and making this a community, the unity part of the community word, and building resilience around here. And I think, with the Motherlode Gold thing, which is a regional complementary currency that we're expanding every day. We actually have about over $2,000 worth of it in circulation, and it's only been going for 2 weeks now. And that's not even included whatever they got into circulation today. I know we took in hundreds at our booth here, and it was kind of a slow day at the market actually. But that's a way to keep our energy local. And complementary currencies have been used throughout history to basically buffer the impacts of inflation, buffer the impacts of currency shortages, and to weld neighborhoods into communities. And I think there's a pretty stark difference between a neighborhood and a community. And I feel like at Calaveras Grown and at our markets, and with what we've been doing, especially since the Butte fire, but even before that, we were putting on these events that we called ACT, Amador Calaveras Tuolumne, where we would have a couple hundred people at the McQualmie Hill Town Hall and serve a local food meal and have bring in speakers to talk about resolving local issues. And I think our focus is on positive solutions, and only entertaining the problem long enough to come up with a solution, and then let's go for it. Let's try that solution. Let's not get stuck in the problem.
Anybody have some questions or comments? Justin.
Yeah. Hey, Sean, where else can people use the currency? So I imagine that you can redeem and gain the currency at the market, but I would hope that you can also go to other businesses that are involved and redeem the currency as well. Is that right?
Yeah. So we're working on it, Justin, but we're working on it, and right now you can. There's a couple shops down in Valley Springs. Okay. You can actually redeem it for olive oil processing at the Mangini Ranch. You can. I'm just forgetting the name of the shop that just decided to accept it in Valley Springs. You can redeem it up at Newsom Harlow, which is a winery owned by Scott Clan over in Murphy's, and we're working on Angels Food Mart and Sierra Hills Markets, which are owned by Mike Croshaw, which are really supportive of our local producers anyway. And I think Hillary's going to start accepting it at the Motherlode Exchange here soon too. But like I said, this is like a totally nascent thing that we just rolled out. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's just a token if it's only for the market, and we're just barely beyond the market at this point.
Okay.
But you have to start someplace.
Yes, you do.
Okay. Any other questions, anybody? How does he have enough time in the day is my question. I don't think you sleep. I think you actually told us that you don't sleep.
And I think we all think that of you as well, though.
But I look like I don't sleep. He doesn't look like that.
Well, maybe not yet.
I just want to say how proud I am of this boy. I had no idea. I had no idea. I want to be on the mailing list.
All right.
And thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Magnus.
Yeah, I mean, Berglund's one of the people that got me here because just his love of literature and photography, so inspiring. Yeah, and for me, it's really important to recognize all the people that that made this possible. But yeah, I kind of follow in both my maternal grandfathers and my dad's footsteps, and both of them, neither of them needed sleep very much. 2 or 3 hours is plenty. And you know, a little cat nap, like you know, a nod off for a second and you're back to full power basically is kind of how I operate. So I might take, you know, 1 or 2 of those during the day. And then, you know, I sleep from like, right now I'm sleeping from about 10 to 1 a.m. And then I start going then I turn on the music at 1, have a little personal dance party and then do my stretching and get on it.
You mentioned your dad was not a farmer, but was your grandfather a farmer?
No, my grandfather was actually a warehouse manager.
Okay.
But he started the first wine warehouse in California. Yep. So he was a big part of getting California wine on the international map. And yeah, that was in Union City, and they aggregated wine there back in the 70s. And my uncle was a viticulturalist. He died young from psychological complications from the Vietnam War, and certainly following in his footsteps to some degree. And but I grew up working on one of the things that the video missed about is that I grew up working on this cattle ranch. I grew up working for Jack and Ruth Cool, and they were one of the largest single family owned cattle ranches in California at the time. Unfortunately, their kids didn't see the value in that, and they sold it off for houses and grapes. I don't have any problem with grapes, but you know, we do have to also eat. I like alcohol too, but we got to also eat. So then, yeah, I learned a lot from them, and that's kind of where I think I developed the real love for this. But I always loved to get up early and go out, and I didn't used to actually verbally say good morning to the animals and the plants and stuff. But I always loved the morning, and I always loved like seeing everybody right at the start of the day. And you know, that's when the bees are out mostly. That's when a lot of our native pollinators are out, and that's when kind of the world is alive around here. And that's certainly when I'm most alive. I'm starting to fade now.
Well, we've super enjoyed this, Sean. And if there's any other questions, now's the time.
It's more of a comment.
Okay.
Sean, when we were at your place, you talked a bit about education, and I just hope with this virus and, you know, everyone's sheltering, that we can get back to a time where kids can get back up to your place and learn a bit from you, because I think you have there's a lot of value to what you're teaching, and it's nice to see. So compliments to you, and I hope you get back to that.
Thanks, Karen. I hope we get back to that too. And we're doing that. You know, my brother just became a teacher. Thanks for that, Berglund. And so his first job as a teacher is actually, he basically gets to be dad to a couple of kids on one of these little COVID pods.
Pod. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's not gonna, it's not too widespread, but we're gonna enjoy the time with those kids, that's for sure. And I'm gonna certainly play a role.
Good. That's cool.
I think I found myself, in trying to, we have a lot of really good video about Sean, and trying to narrow it down to something that would fit in this was really hard. But I found myself, the ones that were quoting you were, the way you find your life lessons out of your nature around you is really stunning. Yeah, and I super applaud you on that.
Thanks. I'm just trying to learn all the time.
Right, and it's there to learn.
Yeah, it's showing us all the time what's going on, and yeah, it's just listening and then figuring out understanding. And I think eating the food from the place, especially eating the acorn, that really, we live in a nut tree forest, by the way. And today always takes me back to this moment 4 years ago. And I was supposed to fly to Shanghai. 4 years ago, day after tomorrow, I was supposed to fly to Shanghai and check out a acorn dehauler. Because we had a plan to employ the unemployable, gathering acorns in the forest and turning them into livestock feed and cookies. And Quercus mongolicus in China and Asia in general, temperate Asia, is actually a sweet acorn, doesn't have a lot of tannins in it. And so they have, commercial acorn processing equipment over there. So that might be that's a future project for sure that we'll have to revisit at some point.
Well, thank you again for spending all this time with us, and I raise a glass to you, and also one in memory of your dad.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks for the delicious food, Justin. Keep going with that stuff. Awesome, man.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for working with me, brother. I appreciate it a lot.
I enjoy it. I like your little kitchen.
Unmute us.
I did.
Thank you very much.